and business
Mhm.
owners, and then added the research for dating and relationships. And now I'm a dating coach for high level and women that are 50 and over.
Great. And you've written a book, which we'll talk about
I
later.
have
Do you
written a
want to tell us
book.
the title of the book?
Sure, it's the perfect dating guide for women over 50.
All right. And her website is dategreatguys.com. I love that.
Oh, thanks.
So what type of research did you do before developing your program?
You know what? This is what I found really interesting, Diane, is that when I started dating and realized that I didn't know how to date, I didn't know how to date because I'd been married for so long. And then I started doing the research. What I found is there's a whole lot of research out there for dating in general. If you're 20, if you're 30, maybe even if you're 40. But if you get into that older, that kind of that, women of a certain age kind of age,
Mhm.
there's just not a lot out there.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you, it surprised me because we are becoming such a large demographic and there's just not a lot. But oh my goodness, I did a ton of stuff. You should see my bookshelf. It's like I have a ton of books that are written, again, mostly just dating, not dating at 50. But I did books, I did programs, I did videos, I feel like I lived it for such a really long time because I wanted to get a handle
Sure.
on
Good
how is this different?
experience. Yeah.
What
Right.
is it? What is it that makes it different?
Mhm.
And then at the same time, I was talking to women who were kind of in the same boat that I was in. Last time I dated, the internet wasn't even
Right.
around.
Right.
And so now, that's such a big part of dating and it's a totally different
Mhm.
people haven't changed. The
Right.
process has
Right.
changed.
Right. Yeah.
The process has definitely
Mhm.
changed. And maybe people have changed a little bit in the last 40 years. Who
Right,
knows?
right. Well, when I was driving down here to the radio station, I was chatting with a friend of mine. She's actually 70. She's not single. She's been married, but I was telling her who my guest was going to be. And she said, well, I would think when somebody gets to be 50, 60, 70, and they haven't met anybody, they're not dating and they're not remarried, why would they bother? So does that?
Oh, that's funny that she should say. Well, a lot of people do think that. I'm not
Right,
gonna. I'm not gonna
right,
try to tell you that they don't.
right.
But there are so many. I mean, a remarkable amount of women and men
Mhm.
too. They don't want to live the next
Right,
30 years. I mean, I just turned 65.
right.
My mother is 91.
Mhm.
Her mother passed away at 92.
Mhm.
My other grandmother passed away at 92. So the question I have is for myself, do I want to spend the next 25 years of my life
Mhm.
alone?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the catch because you really get used to being on your own and doing your own thing, but yet men do kind of bring a different energy to the
Mhm.
world
Right.
and to your world especially. So you have that balance of, is it worth the effort?
Right.
And for some women it is.
Sure.
And those are the women that I appeal to, hopefully.
Right. Well, I met my husband on Match.com when it very
Did
first started
you?
out. So yeah, I can vouch for that. But yeah, I know she was just surprised that there would be women that actually were out there
I
looking
have
for
women
dates.
into their 70s.
Really.
In like early 70s
Hmm.
is about the highest level. 70, maybe 4 is
Hmm.
about the highest level I've ever worked
Hmm.
with.
Okay.
But I think it's wonderful. I mean, love is good. Love
Right.
is healthy for you. Love
Right.
is good for you.
Right. Yeah. So what surprised you about the research?
I think the research surprised me. Well, just the lack of it,
Yeah.
for one thing. And it's all very, like, the research that I read, it's all very geared to the cutesy, sexy kind of thing. And depending on who you follow, um, a lot of it can be like, well, how do you get your man to do X? Well, and you know what? At this stage of life,
Mhm.
I know, because everything I teach is sort of like, well, could I do that?
Mhm.
And I'm not going to get my man to do anything,
Right.
So it just surprised me that it was a little bit cheesy, I guess, for a lack of a better term.
Okay. So a lot of the women that you work with, they've been divorced a long time, or are they looking for a partner for a while, or?
It's really kind of, it's just the gambit. I mean, I've worked with women who have never been married and they want to find a relationship, maybe not get married,
Mhm.
but they want a relationship.
Right.
I've worked with people that have been divorced for decades and they're just tired of being alone,
Mm.
which I can understand. Widows,
Mm.
and then divorce. I mean, look at me. I was married 37 years and got divorced at 60.
Mhm.
And I don't know how common that is,
Mhm.
but it happens.
Right. Yeah,
It
it
does
does.
happen.
Yeah, unfortunately. So what was the biggest surprise you discovered about dating at this stage of life?
Well, on a personal level, I think what surprised me, a couple things surprised me is that sex is not off the table.
Mm.
That surprised me. I was grateful for that personally. But that did surprise me. Men really don't know how to date, unfortunately. They just don't. God love them, They just
We're looking at the man in the room.
God love them, but they don't really know how to date, and I think frankly, I think women are so easily. It doesn't take much to please a woman and to make her happy.
Mhm.
Show her a little attention, open the door for her. She's on cloud nine.
Right.
I mean, when you really get down to it. So those were the things that surprised me the most when I really got out there and started dating again.
Right.
I was just like, and a lot of it boils down to, I hate to say it, but just good manners. It's not brain science.
Right.
It's whether or not you're dating a man who knows how to be social
Mhm.
and knows decent manners. I don't, it does,
Absolutely.
it's not, like I said, it's not
Sure.
rocket science.
Right.
But I guess if that's not something that you do on a regular basis, then you have to sort of relearn it.
Right. So what happened when you went on your very first date after being married for that long?
I don't remember. I don't even remember who my first date was, but which is weird. You think I would, wouldn't you? Because it had been so long. I think the thing what made me laugh because I was having a ton of coffee dates, lots and lots of coffee
that's
dates.
right,
Well,
yeah.
I was an entrepreneur,
Right.
so I was used to dealing with men, but I was used to dealing with men in a professional setting.
Mhm.
And so when I started dating and I was meeting nice men, not really making any connections, couldn't really figure out why. And then all of a sudden I had this big aha moment. And the fact that I was treating my dates like business meetings. Well, I can guarantee you that is not the best way to inspire romance. And that's really what drove me to start researching, well, what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? And what am I doing wrong?
Right.
And then what am I not doing that I should be doing? That's
Right.
what drove me
So
to
did
that.
you pick the place, the coffee place, or did they?
Well, the way you're supposed to do it,
Okay.
if you really look at, and in my book, I talk about female and masculine and feminine energy, and
Mhm.
just men like to provide and they like to pursue,
Right.
and they're the hunters and all
Right.
that type of thing. And there is some brain science
Mhm.
behind that.
Mhm.
And so the way you're supposed to do is like, yes, tell them when you're available, give them a couple days that
Mhm.
you're available, give them maybe some spots that you could like to go
Isn't it like a
to.
business meeting though? I mean,
Well, but then again, but then
Okay.
you let them
Right.
figure it all
Right,
out,
right.
So now what I do, now that I kind of figured out what to do and how to do all this, I'll say, well, if he says, well, let's meet for dinner, it's like, well, I like Italian, so find a place, whatever,
Okay.
whatever you like.
Right,
I mean, you take care of it, you manage it, you just let me know and we'll make it happen.
Okay.
And so it's that volleying to and fro because you want them, they want to make you happy.
Mhm.
And if I keep doing everything, then they don't have any way to make me happy.
Right, right. Were you really nervous with your first date?
I can't remember. I cannot believe I cannot remember my first date because I didn't do it right. I'm not going to lie.
Right,
Let's be honest. I
Right.
hadn't been on a date in 40 years.
right.
Right.
Mhm.
And I don't remember if I was nervous. But I do know, man, I dated quick.
Mhm.
Like if my divorce was final on Monday, I was dating. I was on those dating sites by Tuesday.
Wow.
And I was probably dating by the next week, which I really shouldn't have been. I
No.
needed some time to sort of
Right.
get to know who I
Sure,
was.
yeah.
And I didn't even know what kind of man I was really interested in.
So when you say dating site, I mean, is that the only way went to meet men was on dating
That's the
sites?
way I'm busy.
Right.
So I use the dating
Okay.
sites, and I have met lovely men
Mm-hmm.
on the dating sites. I
Right.
haven't, knock on wood, or, I haven't had very many I haven't had hardly any
Right.
horror, those horror stories you hear about.
Right.
I haven't had any of those. I think I've been really fortunate because I do hear some crazy stories, but I don't have any single friends.
Mm-hmm.
So not that you have to have single friends. I mean, married people can set you up with single people.
Right.
But I just didn't. I had been very isolated in my marriage,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have a big circle of friends.
Right.
So that was out. I wasn't active in my church, so that was out.
Mm-hmm.
I had business
Right.
acquaintances,
Mhm.
which was sort of the whole problem I was having anyway.
Right.
And so for me, it was just simpler.
Mm-hmm.
And, and back to your point, now that we talk about it, I kind of remember I was incredibly nervous talking on the phone with a man. I mean, like ridiculous. I didn't know what to talk about. I'd stuttered. I was a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
So it was so easy. But see, I was much more confident online
Mm-hmm.
because I could type what I
Right.
was thinking, and
Mm-hmm.
I could read it back, and I could fix all the typos and
Right.
do all those kinds of things. So I was much more confident dating online.
Okay. So how long do you you suggest that somebody wait before when they meet somebody online? How long should they wait before they meet in person?
I believe you got to do it fast.
Really?
Yes. Well, a couple of reasons.
Okay.
And people didn't, I think I get this look sometimes. A lot of women like to text back and forth for weeks or months or whatever. And I'm like, ugh. For one thing, you have to catch the momentum while the momentum is going.
Right.
Romance has a momentum,
Mm-hmm.
for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is if you do it quickly, then you can tell if they're a scammer or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do. I do from the time I reach out online to the time I'm having a coffee date. I bet it's not more than 5 to 7 days.
Wow.
I mean, it's just quick.
Right.
Because for one thing, if they can't meet me for if they can't talk on the phone,
Right.
that's a red flag.
Okay.
Right? Because I
Right.
like to do text,
Mm-hmm.
then I like to do a phone call,
Okay.
and then I like to meet in person.
Okay.
And I always meet at a public place, of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
But if they can't meet me, if they
Mhm.
can't talk on the phone, it's definitely a red flag.
Mhm.
If they can't, oh, I'm out of town.
Mm.
Well, no, you're not out
Right.
of town. You're
Yeah.
probably out of the country. You're
Sure.
in somebody's basement or something, But I like to do it quickly because if they can't meet me, then they're
Right.
really not interested.
Right. Right.
And it's like at this stage of life,
Mhm.
and I think that's one of the other things,
True.
we have a different sense of urgency. I
Right.
don't want to spend 6 or 8 months with a man and then stop seeing him just to start over again.
Right.
I want to know kind of like right away if this guy's a jerk. I want to know right away
Sure.
so that I can move on
Yeah.
and allow him to move on as well.
Right.
And sometimes we're just not a good fit.
Right. Yeah. So what's the one thing that you see holding women over 50s back from dating and finding love?
Probably fear.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to understand too, Diane, the society in which we were brought up. Women of our era, they were brought up to be, seen and not heard,
Mm.
to put everyone else's needs
Right.
first,
Mhm. Sure.
to be the smile and be friendly all the
Mhm.
time,
Mhm.
and which led them into some relationships that were maybe less than positive.
Right.
And they don't want another situation just like the other one.
Mhm.
And so I think probably fear. I'm going to cough. I don't know how to do that.
That's okay.
Sorry. Sorry. But they don't know how, they don't want another situation like that. And they don't think they're good enough.
Mhm.
It's funny. I had a coffee date this morning,
Mhm.
and we were just talking to this gentleman, and I said, I don't know why that's such a big deal about like your physical person, because it's like most people our age have had some, I mean, I'm a whole lot prettier with my clothes on than I am with them off, because you can see all the scars and all that stuff. And it's like, everybody has that.
Absolutely.
But, women get very
Yeah.
hepped up on that.
Right.
They
Sure.
do.
Yeah. Well, I guess they want to put their best foot forward.
Well, of
all the
course
time.
you do. That's
Sure.
why I wear clothes.
Well, there you go. So I see that you gave me a few notes, and you said often women settle for someone who doesn't treat them well because they don't believe they deserve better.
That's exactly true.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, they'll settle. You know, they won't go for the guy who's really smart and friendly and kind.
They go for the bad boy?
Well, not so much that. They just take crumbs.
Right. Okay.
They'll take crumbs. I always tell women, you know, don't wait around to get picked.
Mhm.
You decide what kind of a man you're
Mhm.
interested in. What
Mhm.
kind of a man loves you the way you want to be loved.
Right.
Because it's different. Everybody has a different idea of what love means
Sure.
and what it looks like.
Mhm.
And if you wait around to get picked, it's like you settle for whoever picks you.
Right. So you're telling women to be, your clients to be more forthcoming, more,
Well, I tell them to know who they're looking for
right.
and then not settle for anything less.
Okay. So when you coach them, do you have a questionnaire? Do you go over, what are the types of guys that you like?
We
What-
go through a whole process.
Okay.
My coaching program, which I am really pretty proud of because it kind of follows my book and the fact that it most of the women that I'm working with are not currently dating,
Okay.
right? They haven't dated in a while, or they are dating, but they're not meeting the right kind of men.
Mhm.
But I would say the majority of them are not dating right now and would like to.
Mhm.
And so we start at the very beginning. It's always like love yourself first.
Mhm.
So if you've got to shed some of that fear or hurt or shame or whatever it is, so that you can love yourself first, that's where we start.
Mhm.
Then we go into, well, who are you looking for? You know, who are you looking for? And what kind of qualities do they need to have? And there's a thing they call like your must-haves and your deal breakers. And it's like, I always tell them your must-haves get you to date number one.
Okay.
Because if they don't fit your must-haves, why would you waste your time with them?
What do you find is the normal must-have? What do most
Oh,
women
well, like
want?
things like if they don't want to date a smoker, for
Oh,
example.
right. Yeah.
You know, mine are like, I don't want to date a smoker.
Mhm.
I'd like him to live within a half an hour.
Okay.
I'd like him to be at least as tall as I am because I'm
Mhm.
kind of
Very
a tall
tall,
woman,
yeah.
right? Those are my top three. They have to be family oriented,
Mhm.
you
Right.
know, because I have a family and
Right.
they're going to have to understand those things.
Mhm.
And they're going to have to be, they don't have to know substance abuse.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not really very,
No, those are pretty good qualities.
I
yeah.
mean, and it's pretty generic.
Mhm.
And so because, you know, how would I know anything else? Because
Right.
I'm only looking for a guy to get to date number one.
Mhm.
And then when you get to date number one, the whole point of date number one is to see if you like him enough to get to date number two.
Right.
You know, and I think that women need to understand too that dating is about you.
Mhm.
You know, I don't want you to say, oh, I hope he likes me.
Mhm.
I want you to say, I hope I like him.
Right. Right. Well, I read on your blog, you have a story on there about when you did meet somebody and you did like them and you wanted to go to date number 2, but he did not.
He did not. I messed that
Yeah.
whole thing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think the title of that article was even dating coaches screw up sometimes, you know. I mean, I was so in my head.
Right.
I was because I was like, do I like this guy?
Yeah.
Is he the kind of guy that I would like to date? I mean, I can just remember, and it wasn't been that long
Mhm.
ago. I was just like spent the whole time
Mhm.
thinking about this instead
Right.
of paying attention to what we were talking about and
Mhm.
doing in that, and totally missed the signals that could have really led to
Mhm.
some attraction.
Right.
And it was like, you know,
Well, I read that blog. I felt so sorry for you.
oh,
I'm
you're
sorry,
so
but bad
sweet.
for you.
Oh, you're
'Cause
so
I
sweet.
know she liked this guy.
But you know what's funny? I found out it all. You know what? The universe has a way of working
Yeah,
itself out
yeah.
because I found out through a friend. We have a common friend, which
Uh-huh.
I didn't know at the time.
Mhm.
Found out that he's a smoker, and he didn't tell me he was a smoker.
Oh no.
So I
Bad,
would have been
bad.
disappointed to know. I would have
Oh.
been even more disappointed if I would have gone out with him on another date and really started liking him and then found out he was a smoker.
Oh, yeah. That wouldn't have been good.
No.
So how is dating different at 50 than it was at 30?
Well, you know, for one thing, we have the internet, which we
Mhm.
didn't have
Mhm.
then. That's probably the biggest thing. The other thing is that we have, if you're doing it with the right goal in mind, if you really, let's say you really want a relationship, I don't want people to invest
Mm.
2 years of their time just to find out that their deal breaker, that this person they're dating doesn't meet their deal breaker.
Mhm.
And I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm 65.
Mhm.
I'm proud of it, I guess. I mean, what's my
Don't look it.
alternative? Oh, well, thank you. But so it's like I'm 65. So if I dated somebody for 2 years, and this has happened to one of my clients for 2 years, and the person they were dating did not meet their deal
Mm.
breakers.
Mm.
And they put up with it, they put up with it, they put up with it, they put up with it. And now 2 years later, they ended up ending that relationship. Well, I would be 67. So
Mhm.
now I'm 67 and I'm
Right.
starting over again.
Right.
And I don't know that that needs to be any different. If you're 40 or 30, that's probably the same
Same.
thing. You should never settle.
Mhm.
But I think when you settle at this age, it has a different impact because you're losing valuable time. And the more time you spend dating someone who's not the right fit,
Right.
that's time you miss looking for someone who is the right
That's
fit.
right. Yeah, sure. So when you're coaching your clients, do you, well, I mean, I know there's a difference between a coach and like a consultant, but do you tell them, I think you probably ought to think about ending this relationship? Or-
No, I don't tell them that. No.
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 Okay. Do you let them figure it out for themselves?
Well, I ask them questions.
Okay.
I ask them questions with the hope that they'll come to the right conclusion. It's really easy when you're not in the situation.
Right. Yeah.
You know, when you're watching your friend do something and you know it's a train wreck,
Mhm.
it's really easy to see that. But when you're in it, it's
Mhm.
not always so easy. So
And some people don't want to hear that.
no,
too.
absolutely
Right.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I was married 37 years.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just try to ask them pertinent questions.
Mhm.
And if they, and hopefully then they'll come to the realization that this
Mhm.
is not the best situation for
Right.
them.
Yeah. Do you meet them once a week? Do you, I mean, how does that work?
You know, usually we meet, it depends, because it depends on who they are. Like sometimes, like for C-level, like C-suite people, excuse me, they don't have the time. So we might meet, twice a month.
Okay.
But I like to do it. I like to have like weekly sessions, at least at the beginning, because we need to get a foundation.
Mhm.
And then I want to get them to the point where they're actually dating. So then they can have the support. Well, because I've had people like send me a text, Michelle,
Mhm.
this is what he said to me. Well, how do I respond?
Oh, right.
And so I want them to have the support while they're actually dating.
Mhm.
So I try to get them in and moving and dating as fast as I can so that they have the support because nothing beats practice.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
nothing builds confidence more than practice.
Mhm.
I'm a totally different dater than I was 5 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, totally different.
Wow. Because?
I'm just more confident.
Okay.
I feel like I know what I want. I'm more
Right.
confident with who I am.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Confidence is sexy on anybody at any age.
Mhm. Sure.
It really is.
Right.
And so I like to try to get them up and going as
Mhm.
fast as we can.
Well, you mentioned C-suite. So tell me what challenges the executives have.
You know what's so funny about professional women, and they're just in charge all the time, right?
Oh, well,
they're
yeah.
they're responsible for everything. They're in charge all the time, and they forget that they need to turn that off
Mhm.
because they want a masculine energy man. A masculine energy man he's the doer, the planner, the pursuer.
Mhm.
And most of the women that I talk to, no matter what level they are, they're like, I'm just so tired of driving the bus all by
Mhm.
myself.
Right.
So C-suite women drive the bus all day long by themselves.
Right.
They're totally responsible. And so they're just in the habit of continuing that in their love life.
Mm.
And unfortunately, if their masculine energy is attracting a masculine energy man, now we have two rams that are fighting for alpha position, and a masculine energy man will only fight so long because
Right.
he wants someone that he can please. He
Mhm.
wants somebody he can make happy.
Mhm.
And here we have, Miss C-suite over here doing everything already on her own. So he has no way to make her happy because she's so competent.
Right.
And I mean that not competent
Right,
as in
yeah.
smart, but
Sure.
she's making the reservations and she's planning the date and she's telling them where they're going to go and
Mhm.
she's, making them dinner and he can't do anything to make her happy because she's so doing it on her own.
Right.
So that is the biggest thing is I need to tell them, you get them to a point where they can shift.
Okay.
It's like, just relax, take a breath, lean back, let go of some of this control that you
Right.
have to have about
Yeah.
everything in your life,
Right.
because now you have someone that can help you
hmm
and who wants to help you.
Right. Yeah. If they can do that. Yeah.
Well, and but you know what? It's really funny because you can activate that masculine energy
Right.
by leaning back,
hmm Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, and I can use myself as an example. Today, we just had coffee and I said, "Oh, I would like a glass of water." Well, they don't give you have to go get your own water.
Mm.
I didn't get my own water. I let him get my water.
Right.
I let
Yeah.
him get me 2 glasses of
Right.
water.
Right.
And I was so proud of myself because for one thing, it was like it made my life easier because I got to sit there and be sweet,
Right.
and he got to feel like, ooh, I really did something special for her.
Oh,
And I
that's nice.
was very appreciative
Good
of
for
that.
you. So tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you if they want to.
Well, the website is dategreatguys.com.
Okay.
And they can and there's a lot of information there. I
There
do.
is. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
It's a wonderful website.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. But I do workshops twice a month, and the replays are there, so you can download the replays. I have a blog,
Yeah,
which
the blog's great.
I do a blog every week. It's pretty meaty. It's not fluffy.
Mhm.
I mean, I address some kind of topic every single week. So there's that. They can get my book there. They can do all kinds of stuff.
All right. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with Michelle after these commercials.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you want to become a radio show host, or do you want to create a radio show? Well, Dr. Stan Fine can help you to have your own radio show and put you on 100 cities daily across the U.S. And you can immediately start recording from a live radio studio. As a radio industry veteran, Dr. Stan Fine has 12 years of experience and has produced and hosted over 1,000 radio shows with over 10 million listeners. Dr. Stan Fine knows how to make this happen for you. He's a pro, and he can turn your dreams into a reality. Dr. Stan Fine will help you with everything from learning how to promote your show, develop a host persona, interview techniques, market your show on social media, teach you how to get guests and sponsors, and more. Dr. Stan Fine can put you on the air nationwide daily to 100 cities. If you're interested in making your dream come true, if you want to see how it all works, then give Dr. Stan Fine a call at 314-710-8413. That's 314-710-8413. You've got nothing to lose, and Dr. Stan Fine can help make your nationwide radio dreams come true.
Hey, listeners, saying thanks to your customers is nice and polite, but expressing your gratitude in memorable and ongoing ways can boost your business. At Promo Experts LLC, we exceed our customers' expectations. For over 20 years, our product knowledge and experience has helped them with their marketing initiatives and trade show graphics. We are happy to put that experience to work for you. Quality products, great customer service, and prices are our #1 priority. We work with you to find unique, creative, and new ideas that fit your image and expectations, helping you build strong relationships with your customers. When you select Promo Experts as your marketing partner, we help you to see more than the big picture. For more information about this exciting opportunity, contact Diane Carson, President, at 636-458-5241. That's 636-458-5241. Let Promo Experts help you to move your business brand beyond the bland. Have you always wanted to write your own book but don't know where to start? Publishing Concepts, a publishing company located right here in St. Louis, offers everything from consulting, book printing, copyrights, ISBNs and barcodes, print book layout, ebook and iBook layout, graphic design, cover design, ghostwriting, typing and editing, distribution, marketing, and more for an affordable price. Visit publishingconceptsllc.com or just Google Publishing Concepts to get started today, or call 314-781-8880. That's 314-781-8880. Publishing Concepts. We help you sell more books.
If you're looking for a new, informative health and lifestyle show to gain knowledge and inspiration to help guide your journey to think, work, and live more powerfully? Then you need to listen to Sage Advice with Melissa. It's live each Thursday from 10 to 11. Now, whether you're trying to improve your life from a mental, physical, or spiritual journey, Sage Advice with Melissa Coleman, CEO of Sage Skincare, delivers weekly advice from industry experts to provide you with insightful suggestions to allow you to thrive with a better quality of life. Melissa's mission? To guide you through the uncharted waters of health and wellness and to give you a voice to help improve your life. So be sure to tune in to Melissa on KWRH 92.9 FM every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to part 2 of our show. If you're just now joining us, you're listening to Women in Business. You can catch us locally on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 at 10 o'clock on Sunday, and My Genre Radio through Zeno FM. Today, we're talking with dating and relationship coach Michelle Burkhart. And before we go any further, can you please tell us again how our listeners can contact you?
Oh, sure. Feel free to visit www.dategreatguys.com.
Okay, that's great. So what experience were you able to bring with you from your business coaching into your dating coaching?
I think that was something that for me as a coach kind of made me laugh. It just really made me chuckle, because as I'm putting my coaching program together and as I'm doing the research and writing my book and doing all this, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is sales and marketing 101. It really is. It's like, know your avatar. Who's your perfect client? Who's your
Mhm.
perfect date? So that was it. Fish in the right pond.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were looking for a man between such and such an age, and you have to go where they are in
Mhm.
order to meet them.
Right.
Emphasize the positive.
Mm-hmm.
Put your best foot forward, look your best, be your best
Absolutely.
self.
Right.
It absolutely mimics
Mhm.
sales and marketing.
Right.
And I didn't realize that. I don't know why I didn't, because I was in marketing for
Right.
probably 20 years.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of it in that way until I started putting it together as far as relationships. But it really is true.
Mhm.
You're not going to find the man you're not looking for.
Right.
You have to know who your client is if
Mhm.
you want to find them.
Mhm. Right.
You're not going to be, most people are not going to be a good fit for everybody. They
Mhm.
all say, you can't
Mhm.
sell to everybody.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're not
Mhm.
going to be a fit for every man out
Mhm.
there.
Right.
There is a specific man looking for a specific woman.
Mhm. My mom used to tell me growing up, don't marry for money, but go where money is and fall in love. So
That's right. Oh, I love that. Can I use that?
Sure.
I love that. I do love that. Well, and that's funny, because when I talk about, being attracted to high quality men,
Mhm.
a lot of times women think I'm talking about high income men. And
Mhm.
it's like, it's not necessary. I mean,
Right.
that's fine if
Right.
they're high income. That's great. But that's not really what it is. It's more about how they treat you,
Mhm.
But
Right.
I love that. I might have to
There you
use
go. You
that,
can-
Diane.
I think it's an old English saying. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it is. Yeah. So anybody can use it. So how do you market your services?
Well, right now I am doing, I haven't done a whole lot of marketing up till this point. Actually, I'm in the process of creating an evergreen coaching program, because that's going to lead me to some other things. And I am going to start doing some Facebook advertising and that kind of thing. But right now I'm really marketing just through Meetup and
Mhm.
through my email list.
Right.
And that's really all I'm doing at this point.
Do any of the dating platforms? Do they let you run ads? They probably very expensive.
no, there's no ads.
Yeah,
I have
oh,
not seen
okay.
any
I haven't been
ads.
on there for years. So,
No, I
yeah,
haven't seen any of that. But there's a couple.
I'm surprised they don't.
There are a couple publications that I think I'm pursuing.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about pursuing. They're new to the area
Mhm.
because I have to decide too if I'm going to go national, if I'm going to go local,
Mhm.
and that's a decision I have to make.
Right.
So
You
you know,
can
this is
really-
a business just like any
Right.
other
You
business.
can really help anybody, though.
Right.
Right.
And I do work across the country.
Mhm.
I mean, I really actually I have actually international because I end up with internet. I know it's weird. I don't even know
Mhm.
how they find me.
Even with the different culture.
Well, not so much a different culture. Usually it's from the UK. I
Okay.
get people from the UK, and then I get people from Canada, which I
Mhm.
consider
Right.
just our sisters. You know, but that's I think because there's a language barrier as well. So I don't do a whole lot of international marketing for sure
Mhm.
because of that language barrier, and
Right.
I don't know their customs
Right,
too.
yeah.
Wouldn't want to mess with that.
Right. Well, the UK is pretty close to.
That's what I think too.
Right,
But
the
I
US.
still don't know how they found me.
Interesting.
I
Well,
know.
you're on the World Wide Web.
I
So.
guess. That's right. You're right about that.
So, what's the biggest conception women have about men at this stage of life?
I think women at this stage of life don't realize that men really do want relationships. Connection is a human need at any age, at every age. And I think they just think that they're out for sex,
Mm.
they want someone to take care of them.
Mhm.
Those are probably the two biggest ones. They want a nurse or a purse, but those are low value men,
Right.
so that you wouldn't spend your time with them anyway.
Right.
There are those people out there, and women too, that want that,
Mhm.
right? But you wouldn't spend your time with them.
Mhm.
So to me, that's a non-issue.
Right.
But they use that as their fear factor that wraps into that fear that they're going to take all my money, or they're going to I'm going to be taking care of them, or blah
Mhm.
blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's really not. Men want a relationship. They want to have someone to go into their golden years with.
Mhm.
Because you have a lot of really pretty in-depth decisions that you have to make as you age, and they want someone that they can do that with
Right.
and then have fun with along the way.
Mhm. So you
So-
coach men as well, right?
I do, not as many,
Okay.
but I do.
So
which-
it's kind of reverse. So are you giving them different advice than the women? or-
Well, I do, because I mean it's a different animal.
Mhm.
They need to step up. I always
Mhm.
tell them, step up.
Mhm.
You're a man. I had one of my clients said, well, I don't know, he was involved kind of in this situationship,
Mhm.
for lack of a better word, with a woman. And he said, well, how do I get out of the friend zone? I said, well, stop acting like her friend.
Oh.
How hard? I mean, again, it's not brain surgery,
Mhm.
right? And he just looked at me. He's like, well, how do I do that? I said, well, don't listen to her talk about other dates, and don't you talk about
Mhm.
other dates,
Mhm.
and don't be available if she needs somebody to come over and kill a bug.
Mm.
You're not her friend.
Hmm.
If you want to develop a romantic relationship with this woman, then you have to act romantic.
Mhm.
And
Right.
he's just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, that's not really, dating is not that complicated. We
Mhm.
just make it complicated because we are so insecure.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
say we very collectively because it's almost everybody.
Right. I think I saw something, was it in your blog? I saw something that you had written about flirting. Is that
Flirting is fun.
so?
It's just
Describe
fun.
what flirting is.
Well, and again, I just think flirting is just being light and carefree when you're talking to someone.
Uh-huh.
And people make it such this big thing. And again, it's not. It's so simple. I mean, you can be flirty with somebody as simple as just repeating something they said.
Right.
Oh, I went to the gym today and had a great workout. Oh, you went to the gym today.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look at you. You went to the gym today.
Right. Okay.
That's flirting.
right.
Right? All I did was repeat what he said. I mean, it doesn't need to be,
Mm.
like, oh, I must have died and went to heaven because you look like an angel. It doesn't have to be cheesy like that. It can be something just so simple and very authentic.
Mhm.
And again, though, you have to be careful because you can't really joke with somebody if you don't know them very well. So
Right.
you have to joke positive.
Right.
You never joke negative
Right.
because you don't know them well enough to know how they're going to take that.
Sure.
but it's just so easy. And then I have I have two secret words I can share for flirting. One is anytime they say something, and then they'll be like, what did I say? What do you think about that? What's what? So that's again, that's flirting. And the other thing I always tell people to say is, ooh la la.
Oh, really?
Ooh la la, you went to the
Interesting.
gym today. Aren't you Arnold Schwarzenegger? I mean, it's just so simple.
Right.
And it makes them smile.
Sure.
And that's all you want to do is
Well, it's
make
kind
them
of feeding
smile.
their ego too, you think? A little
Well, I
bit?
mean, it can be about
Yeah.
anything.
Right,
It
right,
doesn't
right.
have to be about that.
Right,
but
right.
I mean, if anytime you're
Yeah.
joking with somebody, it feeds their
Sure.
ego.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, do women react to being single differently than men?
They do. They really do, actually, because I think they're better on their own.
Mm.
You know, the research shows that men actually fall in love faster,
Mhm.
and which I found really interesting. You know, you think women would be the real romantic
Mhm.
ones and that they would do that, but men fall in love much quicker.
Do you think that has anything to do with, nowadays women are just so much more independent?
Well, they're
kind of
definitely
have their own lives.
they're
and-
definitely more independent than they've ever been.
right.
So they don't want to give that up. They're
Right.
afraid that they'll have to give that up.
Mhm.
And again, if you're dating the right man, you're not
Absolutely.
going to have to give that up.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
Sure.
So the research shows a man will get into a serious relationship after a breakup 3 years,
Hmm.
within 3 years, where a woman usually waits 9.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
I know. Now
Wow.
that's not for everybody, but
Oh,
that's
right, right,
just,
right.
that's what
Yeah.
research
Right.
quote in
Yeah,
air
sure.
quotes
Mhm.
shows.
Right.
So I
Hmm.
find that really interesting.
That is interesting.
And they like so they kind of do it backwards though. Like they meet someone that maybe they feel some chemistry, they want to lock it down. Men like to lock it down
Right.
and then get to know them,
Mhm.
get to know the woman.
Mhm.
Where women like to keep their options open until they get to know them
Mhm.
and then lock it down.
Okay.
Or again, most women.
Right.
There's no
Right.
hard and fast rule because
Right.
everybody is so different.
Well, yeah. I mean, I waited 4 years before I.
Yeah, so you were
women.
kind of right in the
Mhm.
middle.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I, for whatever reason, just decided I was just.
Well, and
wanted-
I think a lot of it depends on what's going on in your life
Mhm.
too.
absolutely.
I mean, how busy you are. Like at this stage of life, you look at how busy you are. How is your health? How is your financial situation?
Right.
Where are your kids? Do
Right.
you need to be available for grandkids?
Mhm.
I mean, those are the kinds of things that you
Mhm.
start thinking about.
Mhm.
Are you getting closer to retirement? Are
Mhm.
you going to work another 10 years? Maybe another 15 or 20 years, depending on how old you are. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it
Mhm.
for women especially.
Mhm.
And then again, they just don't want to, if they have created a beautiful life for themselves, they don't want to give that up.
Right.
So the key is to find the great guy that you
Mhm.
won't feel like you're giving that up.
Giving
You're
it up.
melding together.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And so, why is it so hard to find love?
I think, well, this makes me sound, I don't think women look.
Really?
Mm-mm. Everybody says, oh, there's no good guys out there. And the guys say there's no good women out there. And I'm thinking, well, if you're both saying the same thing, obviously they are, they're
Right.
there.
Right.
And, yes, there are definitely more single women
Mhm.
than there are single men.
Mhm.
But I always tell my clients, out of that pool of single women, how many of them are really looking?
Mm.
It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes energy.
Mhm. Sure.
And you have to want it.
Right.
And there's nothing, it's not a right or a wrong.
Mhm.
It's just, are you in the mood and are you prepared to invest the time and the energy?
Mhm. Do you think that when you're not looking, it just somebody comes along, or do you believe that you have to get out there and really look?
Well, I think once in a gazillion million times that can happen, but that's something that is more from the movies
Yeah.
than in real life.
Right.
I mean, it can happen. I don't
Right.
want you to think it can't.
Right.
But I mean, that's like people will say, women will say, well, if it's meant to be, it'll be. It's like, well, it's not going to be if
If
you're
you
not
don't go to the
leaving your
house,
house. I mean, if you don't go
Sure.
anywhere or don't
Right.
meet anybody or
Right.
don't socialize in
Right.
any way,
Right.
you're not giving the universe an opportunity to work its magic.
Mhm. Right. I just read something where somebody said that they were dating a man that they had met in the grocery store. I
Oh,
mean,
sure.
Yeah. So if you just start talking with somebody and then
Hmm.
you find out you have the same interests and
And that happens easier than you would
Mhm.
think.
right. Do
I'm
you-
hosting a workshop this weekend. No, next weekend. I'm sorry, online about how to meet men in real life
Wow.
and how it really is easy
Right.
once you get over your fear, the
Okay.
fear factor.
Tell us about the workshop. How do people find that workshop?
DateGreatGuys.com.
Okay.
It's on there as under I want to think it's under special events.
Okay.
I'll put it on
So I have
the.
to sign up ahead of time?
They do because
Okay.
it's a fee-based workshop.
Oh,
This is not
okay.
a complimentary workshop. It's an
okay.
in-depth 3-hour
All right.
workshop.
Okay.
But it really is so interesting that, and again, I had this happen again the other day, and I don't do that. Like I don't talk to random people typically.
Hmm.
And I was at Kohl's and it just happened.
Really?
It just happened. And I just made a comment to a man and smiled and walked on. And then he found me and we ended up having this in-depth conversation.
Wow.
And he was married,
Oh,
which I found very interesting. That's, I don't date married men.
Right.
But I thought, oh my gosh, this is so funny
Hmm.
because I was just talking to one of my clients about dating men in real life and how it doesn't have to be so hard. You
Mhm.
just have to be nice
Be
and
open,
friendly
I
and be
guess.
open, right?
Mhm. Sure.
And then it's like, wow, this happened to me. And it's like, yeah. I mean, and it was literally, I just made like a fun
Mhm.
comment about something he was looking at the
Mhm.
store
Mhm.
and walked on by and went about my business. And
Mm.
then we ended up chatting for 10 or 15 minutes in
Wow.
the aisle in the store.
Interesting.
Mm.
So what's a typical mistake men and women make when choosing a partner?
I think they just don't sit down and spend the time figuring out who they want in
Mhm.
their life.
Mhm.
You invite people into your life,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
so you have to be really careful
Mhm.
who you invite into your life. They have to have the lifestyle that
Mhm.
you want, the values that they want.
Mhm.
You have to spend time in figuring out. Now, I'm not saying like I'm only going to date a man that is 6'2" with
Mhm.
red hair and a
Mhm.
dimple on
Mhm.
his right cheek. I'm not talking about that.
Right.
I'm talking about, do your lifestyles mesh?
Okay.
Do your values mesh?
And do you help your clients figure that out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's like in the first kind of.
That's very early.
Okay.
That's early in the
Okay.
coaching program.
Okay.
But again, though, women are very tempted
Mhm.
to like settle.
Right.
Some things you negotiate,
Mhm.
right? Like if let's say tidiness is really important to
Mm.
you and you end up living with a man who's not very tidy, that's a negotiation though.
Mhm.
What you do is you figure a workaround, and a
Mhm.
workaround is you hire a cleaning lady and
Mhm.
let him pay for it.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
so there are negotiations on some things.
Mhm.
Now, there's like mental, physical, emotional abuse. That's not
Mm.
negotiable in
Mm.
any time,
No.
any place.
No.
But other things that, yes, but you have to like this man enough, and he has to have enough going for him that you want to negotiate.
Mhm.
And you only negotiate a little. You
Right.
don't negotiate your whole list
Right.
of things.
So you help your clients figure out what's
Mhm.
the most important to them. And,
Right. We go through this big
Okay.
exercise
Oh,
about
okay.
how do you figure it out and what
Okay.
do you do? And if you only had $10 and you had to buy values, how much would you spend
Wow.
on charity? How much would you spend on honesty? How much would you spend on loyalty?
Mhm.
So we go through exercises that help them
Wow,
figure out
that's
those
great.
kinds of things.
Yeah, that's good. So tell us about the book. I know we mentioned it when you first
Yay.
started the interview, but just tell us a little bit more in depth
I
about.
love this book.
Yeah.
And and I don't love it just because I wrote it. I know I feel silly hawking it, but it's not really that. It really is. It's the perfect dating guide for women over 50. And it really is. You could read it even if you weren't 50,
Mhm.
frankly, but it is a step-by-step process for how do you go from not dating anybody
Mhm.
to actually like going online. How do
Mhm.
you do your profile?
Mm.
How do you start texting? Like what words do you use? I
Mhm.
mean, I get very specific.
Mm.
Here's the words that you can use. If you want to start texting someone, there's a little formula in there. And then how do you get from texting to telling them you'd like to have a phone call? How do you do that? There's a formula for that.
Right.
And then how do you get from the phone call to the first date?
Wow.
There's a formula for that. So it's a step-by-step process that if you really had never dated before,
Mhm.
you could really learn so much
So
in this
that
book.
actually would be useful for that for women that are even under 50.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So-
Absolutely. And I like what I like about it is that I always just keep reminding them dating is about you. It's
Right.
all about who you like, not who likes you.
Right.
You're making the choice. You're
Mm.
inviting someone into your life.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that this is someone that loves you the way you want to be loved.
So it's kind of the way you put yourself out there is what you would attract.
Well, they always say, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate it the way that I could, but they say you're going to attract the person that you feel worthy of attracting.
Mm.
So if you keep attracting men that are just low quality men, there's a reason for that.
Mhm.
Maybe you need to raise your bar, feel more confident. I always ask the women I work with, it's like, do you feel like you're a good catch?
Mm.
And if they
Good question.
say, well, maybe, then I know we have some internal work that has
Right,
to be done.
Right.
And that I like because, I'm a certified hypnotherapist.
Right.
So I use hypnosis to help build confidence. It's a great tool for
Wow.
confidence building.
Mhm.
And so there's that inner transformation that happens too. And what's really cool about that is that when you're more confident, it affects every area of your
Mhm.
life, from your job to your kids, to your family life, to your dating, to neighbors. I mean, it just
Mm.
impacts everything in a positive way.
Mhm.
And it makes you just a happier person,
Right,
frankly.
Right.
And so, if they cannot honestly say yes, when I say, do you feel like you're a good catch? If they can't say yes, then I know we have some internal work to do. And that's covered in the book too.
Okay. So what
You know.
chapter is that?
Oh, I don't know. I knew you know. I can't believe you put me on the spot like that.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'd have to even put
All
my
right, well.
glasses on. Well, it's probably chapter 2. Love
Okay.
yourself first so you
Okay.
can raise the bar.
Okay, great.
And
All
I'm a
right.
big believer in, I am a big believer in that. It's, women just don't have confidence.
Mhm.
They just don't know how beautiful and special they are
Mhm.
inside and out.
Right.
It has nothing to do with how they look.
Right. And I guess a lot of it is self-esteem as well.
Oh, it's absolutely
sometimes when you come
self-esteem.
out of a bad marriage, you
You
know,
feel beat up.
absolutely. Yeah, your self-esteem
You do
has
feel beat up.
gone south. So,
I talked to a woman just yesterday, and after she was telling, she's only been single 20 months. She was in a long marriage, and her parents were Holocaust survivors,
mm,
so there wasn't a lot of love there. And her husband didn't ever say, I love you. He never said she was pretty.
Mm.
No validation at
Mm.
all for 35 years or some ridiculously long time. And she's like, yeah, and so now I'm getting ready to date. And I'm thinking, yeah,
Mm.
I don't know that you're quite ready for that. You
Mhm.
need to fill that love tank.
right.
And again, all I did was ask. I
Right.
asked the question
Right.
because it's not my place.
Yeah.
I just want to hold space for them.
Right. Do you hear of success stories?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right. Tell us one.
It's really funny. So, and this woman actually was older than me, and everybody that goes through my program, I think, gains something from it. But this one person and one woman in particular, she was not dating anyone, and she went through my program, and she said to me, just very kind of candidly one day, she said, Michelle, I really feel like I got to reinvent myself,
Mm.
which I was honored
Wow.
that she said that.
Wow.
And then come to find out, she went from not dating anybody to dating 2 men.
Oh my.
I know.
At the same time?
At the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yep. She wasn't physical with 2 men at the same time,
Okay.
but so that I think was just something, I just thought that was wonderful. And the feedback that I've gotten, like I'll get feedback from, oh, Michelle, man, I feel so much more confident when I went out with Jim or
Right.
whatever, I mean, it's like he did this and I was able to do this. And, I haven't had any marriages yet, but I
Right.
don't think I've been at this long enough.
That's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask you. Have you done any
I haven't
success
had
stories?
any
Okay.
marriages, but
Okay.
we're getting there.
Oh, are you? Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
good.
we're definitely
I
getting
wonder if
there.
they'll invite you.
I would love to go. I would
You could
absolutely
be the
love.
officiant.
I would love to go. I think that would be really sweet.
That would be great. So I've got a couple of little fun questions. Where would you like to be in 5 years' time?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, so this is my thing. So I'm working on right now, I'm creating an evergreen coaching program. And then after that, my next step is I'm going to start a matchmaking service
I saw,
for people
I saw
over
a note on
50.
that. Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about that. And
Super.
then I'd like to get to the point where I can take a little bit more time off.
Okay.
So either I'll grow it within 5 years to the point where somebody else can manage it and I can take a little bit more
Okay.
time
Would that
off.
be similar to, is it Our Time? Is that one? That's,
No, they're a dating site.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm going to do matchmaking.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Flat out matchmaking.
Oh, wow.
Because
Okay.
there isn't a company that specializes in this age group,
Okay.
this demographic.
Wow. Interesting.
I know, exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. So thank you for being my guest
Oh,
today.
it's my
And,
pleasure.
tell us once again how our listeners can get hold of you or get
The easiest
information.
way is dategreatguys.com.
Okay. All right. And so be sure to email
Sure, it's dating at dategreatguys.com. Yeah.
Okay. And it's Michelle Burkhart,
Yes.
and she is a dating and relationship coach. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. And I know that you can learn a lot, from listening to the advice she has given us today. So please reach out to Michelle to learn more about how to date great guys, and to me, Diane, at promoexperts.com for your promotional product needs or just to offer feedback about the show.
Diane, thank you so much for
Thank
the
you
invitation.
for being on, Michelle. You were great.